What's up, guys? It's Coach Vassar. Thank you for joining me with the OTF Audio Daily Beats. If you're new to these, as always, appreciate you tuning in, listening to me talk about these workouts. If you find value in them, information is in the description on how to support me. This is day 6 of 12 Days of Fitness. This is the best specialty template, and this is going to be a repeat of August 1st and August 31st, the start line, finish line template. So it's an endurance day on the treads, on the rower, and then strength on the weight floor. We'll talk a little bit about the overviews with the key concepts, break down the treads, rower, weight floor, and then also talk about the 3G. So as we look at the template here, once again, this was during marathon month, so very much endurance mindset. We're gonna do the starting line workout. We're gonna tackle your favorite tread blocks, prepare for some serious distance. Now on the tread, it's 23 minutes with surge and return block with 3 speed surges, so you could accumulate as much distance as possible. The rower, we're gonna see 3 90-second row for distances, accumulate as much distance as possible in the first one, and then can you match it, beat it on the second and the third one. And on the floor, you have a circuit. Every time you repeat, aim to go heavier to build strength. So when you look at the template for the treadmills, you're gonna see 23-minute tread block. On each surge, we're looking to increase speed and then return back to their tread for distance speed. So it is broken up where you have 5.5 minute tread, 90-second speed surge, 6.5 minute tread, 90-second, like that. Coach in this one, we don't want to break it down into those smaller chunks, but rather just let the members know that, hey, the goal here is to cover as much distance over the next 23 minutes. And then occasionally we're going to increase and then come right back. So having a, marathon mindset. So, hey, what could you hold for 23 minutes? And then could you add and come back to that? So this is a day where members really, truly should be more on that conservative end. So either below their base or maybe at their base for a majority of people. More, conditioned, more, veteran members, they might start a little bit above their base. Big thing here though is if they are trying to accumulate as much distance as they can, they really need to not walk, because that is going to just kill their overall average pace, and that's going to prevent them from collecting distance. So once again, if they can, trust their base the entire time, because their base should be something that they could hold for about 15 to 20 minutes to begin with anyways. They mention it in the daily beat part where like, hey, you're gonna start mostly in the green, but once you find yourself kind of tap into that orange, you're pretty much gonna stay there for the rest of the tread block. So we'll see 5.5 minute tread, 90-second speed surge, start concerto on this first increase, power walk, jog, run, aim to add 0.1 to 0.3 or so on their speed, nothing too crazy, because once again, they're coming back to their initial speed they started with, and now they're gonna hold that for 6.5 minutes. They'll have another speed surge. Could they add the same amount? Could they add more without sacrificing that previous speed they were at and be able to come back to it? The final little section, same thing, 6.5 minutes, but now it's a 1 minute speed surge to carry them into a 30-second all out. This all out should be more about the effort and the feeling rather than just the intensity and the number that they choose to go with. So depending on their conditioning, maybe what they are currently doing is already starting to feel very uncomfortable. So then can they just hold it for the final 30 seconds? Of course, if they have more to give, allow them to add to it and make sure that they are very uncomfortable. If you have anyone on the bikes or striders here, essentially, they're gonna try to maybe hold their base gears or a little bit more. On the surges, we could think about a surge of power, so increasing gear, or they could also surge in terms of speed, so an increase in RPM, whichever you feel would benefit that member on the bike the best, coach it that way. When we look at the weight floor, we're gonna see a little bit of back and forth here. This is relatively timed up with the tread stuff. So if we look at it, block 1, 2, and 3 on the floor is the same 4 movements as done as a circuit. We're looking to start a little bit more on that conservative, moderate weight choice, and then as a repeat, increase the weight, and hopefully they stay at least 6 reps. We're gonna see goblet reverse lunges, 6 to 10 on each side, paired up with the half knee and low to high chop. So it starts from the hip and then it goes over the shoulder. Then they have the reverse grip low row, which also makes another return. I think this is like the 4th or 5th workout so far with that. And then the dumbbell tricep kickback, and that is gonna be with 2 dumbbells as a kickback into that. Me personally, I'm not so much of a fan of that movement pattern. They really don't get the benefit of the loaded stretch position in the tricep. If you have members who just feel kind of awkward with that and they're not really feeling the triceps, have them, if you have the benches out, have them go to their bench, and you could do like a overhead tricep extension or like a skull crusher. Or as always, like my go-to is use a strap and do tricep extensions from the TRX. Because they're gonna get that loaded stretch position, they're gonna feel that muscle a lot more and get a better engagement of that muscle. Now, wherever they end on that circuit is where they wanna begin on the next one. When the treads are doing their surge, the weight floor is doing a 90-second row for distance. So when we look at the first block, they have 4.5 minutes for that circuit. They wanna remember where they are, that they've finished that. They have 1 minute to transition to the rower, which puts them at 5.5 minutes. And that's gonna be that first tread section. So 5.5 minute tread, 5.5 minutes to do the weight floor circuit, maybe once, maybe 1.5 times. Then they gotta get to the rower. And then when the treads surge, the rowers are gonna help energize the treads for that surge as they do a 90-second row for distance. Majority of people, you're gonna see at least 300, maybe 500 meters for those really tall, strong people. Check and remember distance. They have a minute to get back to the floor and they just pick up where they left off. The template itself just says, hey, pick up on the last exercise completed. So if people don't want to remember the exact rep, just remember like, hey, you finished the goblet reverse lunge, you are doing a couple reps of the high to low chop, ignore those, just start over and do another 6 to 10 reps. And that's pretty much how the weight floor is gonna work. So they'll go back and forth a couple times. They always have that 1 minute to transition to the rower. After that 90-second row, they have 1 minute to come back to the weight floor. Of course, if people get back to their weight floor station sooner, they can pick it right back up. But make sure that they start the row when you launch the treads for the surge, so that way you get that continual engagement across the room for everyone. And that's gonna be the 2G. Now, when we look at the 3G, we're gonna see a 15-minute block on the treads, rower, and weight floor. There's only 2.5 minutes to transition and rotate the room. So this is one where you're gonna have to be a little bit quicker on the setup. And so be concise, really trying to minimize any type of filler words. The way it's set up is very similar as a 2G, where when the surge is happening, something's going on somewhere else. So on the treads, they have 15 minutes. They'll do a 5.5 minute tread, 90-second speed surge, 6.5 minute tread, and then that 90-second speed surge, which is 1 minute, and then a 30-second all out. When we look at the rower, this is gonna be set up with 2 blocks. The first, it's gonna be 4 blocks. So the first block and the third block are very similar. The second and fourth are gonna be paired up. So, odds and evens. When the treads are doing their 5.5 minute tread, the rowers have a 4.5 minute tread block or row block while they're doing a 30-second push row and then 10 quick lateral hops. They're gonna then allow the OT Connect to continue to run. They're gonna time themselves for the next 30 seconds and they're gonna just keep adding distance. Every time they do the lateral hops, they're gonna bump up by 10 reps. I believe I did coach like a 3G for this one, and people were getting about 4, maybe 4.5 row attempts. So we should see, anywhere from about 400 to maybe about 600 meters in that time frame, possibly more. They want to remember how far they got in that specifically, because they're going to try to match or beat that in block 3. When the treads are doing their 90-second speed surge, the rowers are also going to do a 90-second stroke rate surge. So ideally here, a higher stroke rate, but also like a row for distance for them. Block 2 is block 1, or that's block 2. Block 3 is block 1 again. So they'll do that same thing with a 30-second push row, and then they'll do their 10, 20, 30 lateral hops. Main thing for this is the second and fourth block. Obviously, it's a row for distance. It should be a push. It should feel uncomfortable. Heart rate definitely elevates, and they should mimic that like with the tread. So they are trying to go for it there. The weight floor, they're just doing that circuit for 15 minutes. So pretty Once you get the setup and get them going, constantly check in, make sure they have good form. If they need that support from you with options or challenges, make sure you're there for them because they only have that one block, and it's very easy for them to, do 2 or 3 rounds and then they're bored and they're disengaged. So as a coach, try to be with them and help them out, figure out what movements could they do in a different way to benefit them and help build that strength as they really try to lift heavy without sacrificing form. So that's day 6 for best specialty. Once again, endurance on the treads, endurance on the row, and then strength on the weight floor. Coach you down, y'all.